Thanks, Wendy. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to people around the world. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick overview into the Prisma Access Cloud Management. First, we're going to talk about as why we actually came up with a cloud management platform, and then also dive into some of the workflows where we have simplified some of the onboarding workflows with respect to remote networks, mobile users, service connections, and stuff. This is going to be just like a quick overview. Obviously, I have like some more sessions which are actually coming up, which will actually dive a little deep into the onboarding configurations and stuff, just to kind of actually compare and then walk through like how the onboardings of remote networks, be it service connections or the mobile users, how they've been simplified in Prisma Access Cloud Management. So going back to the agenda, so why Prisma Access Cloud Management? What are the advantages with respect to Prisma Access Cloud Management? Walk through some of the onboarding workflows, and then also one of the things about Prisma Access Cloud Management is we always strive to simplify the configurations and then make configuration management easier for our customers. So we're going to dive into some of the areas like how we are bringing in unified console, like a single console for Prisma Access infrastructure, security policy configuration, DLP and SaaS into a single management with the Prisma Access Cloud Management. And then also talk about the web security workflows, how securing internet traffic, the security policies written to secure internet traffic, how that is simplified using the web security workflow. And then finally, we'll talk about obviously the security posture improvements that have been built into the platform. We're going to look at like how the best practices comes into play, and then also there are other things like policy optimizer and stuff. And also there is like dashboards which in fact like give visibility into like how many threats were prevented using Palo Alto Networks Prisma Access services and stuff. So it's going to be a pretty extensive walkthrough, but it's going to be like pretty much covering a lot of topics as such. We'll dive into like the details of it in the next coming sessions and stuff, right? So just to kind of start off, like why cloud management or a new management solution that we essentially came up with. So people who are already familiar with Prisma Access, there are actually two different ways to access Prisma Access. One is using Panorama. Panorama was the only management solution for next-gen firewalls before the cloud management solution came out. So and then Panorama, it's been there for a long time, right? When we thought about coming up with a cloud-based management solution, we kind of looked at, hey, what are all the problems that the existing management systems they have, right? So obviously, panoramas were born out of managing the next-gen firewalls, but managing cloud services actually puts new kinds of constraints in play, right? So complexity comes into picture, right? In terms of different types of configuration, the scale of configuration, different types of deployments, right? So with respect to having the MU related deployment, RN related deployment, or AC related deployments and stuff, right? And then also with the scale also comes the challenge of understanding and maintaining the security posture, right? The more the configuration goes, then it's more important to actually not expose any kind of security holes with the larger configurations, and then maintain a good security posture. And then also there are like multiple features which are coming out in order to protect network infrastructure or users and then applications, right? So with all the features which are available on the firewall, how do you track what are the impact of these features, right? Just kind of taking all these things and then the features that we're going to go through, we're going to just talk about how like each and every feature kind of falls into these categories, solving the issues which are seen here, right? So obviously about around the first quarter of last year, we announced the Prisma Access Cloud Management platform. The Prisma Access Cloud Management platform today is essentially a management platform. It's a cloud-based management platform in order um, uh, to actually configure and orchestrate Prisma Access cloud delivered service, right? So it's a integrated configuration it's an integrated configuration reporting, Prisma Access Insights, DEM. Like we have added a couple of other things as well to make it like a unified UI. So we'll talk about all those things. So it's integrated platforms. We have new workflows for faster application of security, faster deployment of the Prisma Access service itself. We do have incorporated best practices checks. So as and when the security policies are actually defined, the best practices checks are run, and then immediately gives you a verdict saying that what are all the best practices checks that you comply with and do not comply with. And then it actually keeps the security posture in check. And then it makes sure that you're not actually opening any unnecessary holes into your network by not complying to best practices and stuff. And then also the other part to the security posture is also the policy optimizer, which actually looks at, hey, are there any overly permissive rules? And then you need to actually tune them more specifically in order to actually make it more stricter, right? And from the reporting perspective, we want to give a more comprehensive and then actionable reporting in terms of, you can actually take a look based on the features that you have, how many threats we were able to block, and then if there are additional features which are actually not being used properly, then what are the additional threats that can be blocked in order to make the security more comprehensive and stuff, right? So a couple of things just to kind of actually paint with cloud management. We have a vision which stands around 3 pillars. One is obviously make the configuration management more easier, and then also optimize the configuration for actually better security. And then also give proactive health insurance, monitor the security policies and stuff, and then give a better security posture, give recommendations for better security posture improvements and stuff. And then also it's very important to understand how these security policies that you're configured, how these are behaving, like what are all the threats that the Prisma Access infrastructure was able to block, and then be able to protect the users and stuff. What are the additional security features that you can actually make use of in order to actually make it more actionable in terms of like preventing security attacks and stuff. So these are the 3 pillars that the cloud management is essentially built on. Obviously, just comparing, given it's a cloud management platform, it's obviously zero maintenance in the sense that Palo Alto Networks itself takes care of managing the platform, like if there are any maintenance with respect to like updates, with respect to releases and stuff. There is no need for the customers to actually go and then upgrade the platform or do any patches and stuff. So given it's a cloud delivered service, all this thing is taken care by the Palo Alto Networks teams itself, right? Easy onboarding, of course, with all the workflows that we're going to talk about. And then it's a scalable and secure infrastructure. So this is again offered as a cloud delivered service. So depending on the scale, so we are able to actually scale the service depending on the needs. So in terms of compliance, obviously we are ISO and then SOC 2 certified. And with feature sets, given like we released the cloud management last April, we support Prisma Access 2.2, and then PANOS, obviously Prisma Access has underlying, it runs PANOS version on the nodes which are actually there in the service, right? So it's 10.0 and after is what we support with respect to Prisma Access Cloud Management. So next, what I want to do is with respect to workflows, I want to just quickly jump to the the product itself, and then quickly walk through like how the product looks like, and then how the new workflows look like. So if you can just give me a minute, let me switch over to the product. Okay, so when you log into Prisma Access Cloud Management, this is how it looks like. Again, like I said, there's actually a cloud delivered service. All you go is to the hub, or there is a direct link to the portal itself, so you can actually go and then log into the portal. So on the left, what you will see is you'll see a couple of tiles. The first one is the insights. The insights is actually more of I would say an alerting, and then also a Prisma Access alerting, and then it's also a Prisma Access status kind of a UI, which actually tells you how the Prisma Access infrastructure is doing with respect to remote networks, mobile users, service connections, and then also different Prisma Access locations and stuff. Are there any alerts recently? Like how are the tunnels doing? Like all those stuffs are going to be given by the Prisma Access Insights. So think of Insights as actually more of a place where you would actually go and then do a check on how your Prisma Access infrastructure has been doing. And then there is actually Autonomous DEM. Autonomous DEM is, in fact, it's a digital experience monitoring solution, which was launched by Palo Alto Networks last year. So this is actually one of the things about the cloud management platform. So all the applications or all the services which go with Prisma Access, they are all actually integrated into a single console. So everything is available in a single console. There is no need to like jump between like multiple UIs and stuff. And then on the left side, there is actually Manage. The Manage tab is where you would actually go do all the configurations and stuff. And then finally, the last dashboard is the Activity Dashboard. This is where you would actually look at the logs, and then you would look at the dashboards. And also, if you want to actually create some reports and stuff, you can actually create reports as well. So these are the four top level, I would say, segregations that you would see in the Prisma Access Cloud Management platform. So if you like, I'm going to jump to the manage part. This is where the configuration is done. So when you look at the overview page, once you jump to the management, it gives you the config status. Obviously, these are all the widgets. Like if the admin logs in, day-to-day admin who's actually involved in configuring Prisma Access, if the day-to-day admin actually logs in, so he can see that how the configuration status is doing, are all the configurations in sync. For example, the global product is out of sync, so he may have to just go and then push the latest config to the global product. And then it also gives the different configuration snapshots, which were actually created. And then also information about what are all the tenant IDs with respect to Prisma Access, Cortex Data Lake, the tenant ID, which is associated, and then also the cloud management tenant ID, right? So this is especially useful in terms of like troubleshooting and stuff, like when there are some issues that need to be verified or fixed, right? And the other thing is when we talk about onboarding, obviously we wanted to make the onboarding a lot easier to the customer. So what we've done is we've created onboarding workflows, right, where whenever a new feature comes out, so essentially the admins or the user can click on the onboarding workflow, and then they can get a walkthrough in terms of how the onboarding, what are all the things that they need to configure in terms of doing an onboarding. So, for example, if remote networks, let's think of remote networks as something new, which the admins, they are not familiar. If they need to configure a remote network, all they need to do is just do a launch walkthrough, and then it actually takes through the steps saying that, hey, what do you need to do in terms of like configuring remote networks and stuff. It will give you like step-by-step directions, like for example like this. So the user doesn't have to like always go to the admin guide. In fact, he can actually use this onboarding workflows to get up to speed and then configure remote networks or different other things like service connections and stuff in a faster way. I'm going to actually jump into the best practices and then the optimize a little later. This is where the security posture improvements comes into perspective. I'm going to actually talk about that a little later. So just to kind of actually go into the infrastructure deployment itself, right? So people who are familiar with Panorama, you should be like, if you're familiar with configuring global product and stuff, this would actually make a lot more sense when we talk about workflows and stuff, right? So here, what we have done in the cloud management section is we have clearly kind of segregated, saying that, hey, what are the app level settings, what are the tunnel level settings, and then what are the app infrastructure level settings and stuff in the global product app. So it's easier for anybody who's actually configuring global product. They can actually go to like a particular the particular section, and then they can easily go configure all these things, as opposed to going into like multiple places. With respect to Panorama, you need to go into devices and configure the portal and gateways there, and then like come back into the infrastructure, and then you need to do a bunch of configurations over there. Just one second. I think like either my internet connection is too slow or there is something going on with the application. So quickly, I'm going to jump to remote networks. So even just to walk through the workflow, even on the remote networks, right? So when you add a remote network, for example, I'm going to click the remote network. So you can select the, like everything is available here. You can select the remote network location, and then obviously from that remote network location, you would want to actually create a tunnel, remote network tunnel, right? So the remote network tunnel is also available here, where you can create a remote network tunnel. I can just say create new and then create a remote network tunnel. And then boom, you're done here, right? So if you want to create a secondary tunnel, you can do that. Like if you want to actually do the routing config with respect to the remote networks, you can all do here in a single UI or in a single page itself. So there is no need to jump across, like whether defining IPsec tunnels or IPsec gateways and stuff like you do in Panorama today. You don't have to do that. It's all single place to configure everything. Everything. The same thing goes to the same thing goes to service connection as well, just to cover one thing on the remote networks. So under the remote networks, the bandwidth management, the advanced settings for remote networks, everything is situated in the single UI. And then once the bandwidth management is done in terms of the workflow, you can come to your remote networks, create a tunnel, select the location, then create a tunnel and stuff, and then also add routing configurations if needed. Same thing with the service connections too. Like obviously, when you add service connections, we have the tunnel setup, and then the routing, and then also the QoS, everything in the single UI or in a single page where you don't have to go to multiple pages and then do anything. So once the infrastructure is set up, what you do is obviously you go to the security policies and then you configure security policies and stuff, right? So I'm going to just go to the security policy here. So one of the things with Prisma Access Cloud Management is we have adopted best practices into the configuration itself, right? So you see the best, you see that there are actually security policies which are created. And then like immediately once the security policies are created, you can actually see that the best practices checks happen. And then there is actually a best practice indicator saying that whether you comply with the best practice or you don't comply with the best practices, right? And then it also gives you like what are all the best practices that you don't comply with. For example, I'm going to select this allow PAN websites, right? And once I select the allow PAN websites, you can see the best practice checks here. So it says that, hey, there is no app ID, which is actually, there is no application identification feature, which is used with the security policy. That means that the security policy is like open, which is it's allowing all application. The best practice is to lock it down by giving specific applications and stuff. So in fact, it doesn't just go and then say that you're not complying with best practice policies. It gives you the reason why you're not complying with respect to the best practices, right? And this is again just an example of a policy. You can actually go and then here is the every rule based, like when we go to anti-spyware, when we go to vulnerability, these are the different threat profiles or the threat dimensions, right? So every single thing has a best practice check on top. So it's not just a security policy, it's like everything that you configure goes through the best practice assessment, and then it gives you kind of it gives you a report or it gives you a summary saying that why you're not complying with the best practice. And then the other cool part is obviously when you're looking at it in terms of the important features or the first three pillars of the PANOS firewall or the PANOS firewalls or the PANOS security itself, the app ID, user ID, content ID, how you're using, and then how is the feature adoption across, right? So it gives you kind of information on all those. So it's a lot more visibility into the security configurations itself, like how you're doing it, how you're using the features, and then also like are you complying to the best practices or not, right? So people who are familiar with the PANOS firewalls, obviously you have your threat profiles and stuff which are defined. So we have all these threat profiles. One of the things to note is we do have like best practices profiles associated for all the different threat dimensions, right? So if you for anti-spyware, for vulnerability protection, we have the best practices. So these are like the predefined policy, predefined profiles which actually comply with our best practice policy that are already there. So customers or admins can use this best practice profiles, like when they're creating policies, to actually make the deployment of the security faster. So, and then it spans across like all the different threat dimensions that we have: wildfire, vulnerability, DNS security, and stuff, right? So all the security services are kind of available under like one single navigation pane. So, and then also decryption is an important thing, like when you're configuring policies, security policies, obviously it's important to decrypt traffic and then look at the traffic, what is going on inside the encrypted traffic, right? So again, like on the decryption as well, so we have pre-canned best practice policies for decryption, pre-canned best practices profiles for decryption, and then we automatically generate the forward trust and then untrust certificates, have these proxy certificates already configured to get decryption up and going fast. And then also if needed, like the admins can add different certificate that they import as well, right? So everything is geared towards making the security posture, strong, and then also like making the deployment of Prisma Access faster, right? With respect to the onboarding, with respect to the security configurations and stuff. So those are quickly into the security policies and stuff, right? So I'm going to talk about a couple of things where we actually are bringing in more value add to the customer. So obviously, one of the other thing is the SaaS application management. The idea here is obviously we have Office 365 EDLs, which are actually the EDLs which you offer as a service. They are automatically available here for you to use. So in fact, the EDLs are actually segregated based on different worldwide Office 365 endpoints, right? So depending on what you want to use, you can actually bring these EDLs into the security policies. And then also, like if there are any tenant restrictions that you can configure, you can easily configure them here in the SaaS application management. Once it's done, it's pretty easy. You can actually go here and then you can add it to particular security rules and stuff. So think about this workflow, and then also how you would actually, like what are all the things that you need to do on other management platforms in order to actually get the in order to protect Microsoft 365. So this is actually, we call this as a Microsoft 365, more like a one-click deployment where you just do this configuration and then you just go boom, boom, attach to your security policies. And this is, we are a Microsoft NPP certified. And obviously, the reason for the certification is, yes, we actually give like a good experience in terms of accessing Microsoft 365 to the users in an enterprise. And then also we do it in a secure way, in fact, by having the Microsoft 365 traffic securely inspected before it goes out to the 365 locations. So this is one of the advantages that we recently brought in. We are planning to add more and more SaaS applications to it. We have Salesforce coming out shortly. These are the applications which are available in terms of the application management with respect to easily configuring security for your SaaS applications. So on the same note for SaaS applications today, obviously there is a explosion of SaaS applications which are actually which are seen in the enterprises, right? There are day-to-day, there are more and more SaaS applications that the enterprises are trying to consume, right? So we have the SaaS security or the CASP product, which we sell. And people who are familiar, who use the SaaS security product, there is a separate app. Like if you go to Palo Alto Networks Hub, there is a separate app. So what we have done is we have in fact like brought the SaaS security application itself into the cloud management console. So for customers who are actually configuring security policies, and then they have SaaS security rules to protect traffic going, to protect user traffic going to different SaaS applications and stuff. So they in fact have like now the enterprise or the customers have a single console, right? They can have DLP, like if they have DLP policies, if they need to actually define DLP profiles and stuff, they can do it here. They can use the They can use the SaaS security tab in order to view the SaaS applications, how they are doing. They can define policy recommendations, how the SaaS applications must be treated in line in the Prisma Access, and the web security admin or the security admin who's dealing with the security policy, he can adopt these policy recommendations into the workflow easily because everything is available in a single unified console. So just basking on the point of the unified console, right? So here is an example how we are bringing in the data loss, DLP, SaaS security, the Prisma Access infrastructure setup, for example, and then also bringing in the security configurations and stuff into like a single console for the enterprise admins to actually have a visibility and then also go to the configurations and stuff. Right. So I'm going to just do a quick time check. I think we're 8:36. We're going good with respect to time. A couple of things as well, like just standing by like a 2 cloud product. What we do is we do have in-product notifications where we notify customers saying that, hey, when we are going to have like feature, like upgrades and stuff. So obviously when there are upgrades, like obviously we come out with new features and stuff. So we give a link to them directly here to go read the release notes and then see what are the newer features which were introduced. So one of the good things about the cloud management is just like a true cloud platform, we announce features like every month. So we have a every month cadence. So the feature velocity is faster. And we also tend to come out with fixes and then also features at a faster rate, given we have a monthly release with respect to the cloud management itself. Just jumping back to the security posture, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the optimize the policy optimizer. The idea with the policy optimizer is this is actually a ML-based logic or ML-based piece of code, which is in our management platform. The idea with the optimizer is it actually looks at all the rules and then it suggests saying that how you can further optimize your security rules to make it more manageable or to give you good visibility into, hey, what are all the traffic which is going to a bunch of particular applications or the users and stuff, so that you can manage the security rules better. So in fact, like there is an original security rule which is catch-all. Essentially, when you're looking at it, you may not get like proper visibility into, like if you have a bunch of user groups, right, which user groups are accessing what type of application and stuff, right? So looking at the logs from the from this rule, the optimizer actually goes and then recommends saying that, hey, if you split this policy into like multiple policy, you will have better visibility into who is accessing what type of applications, and then also it gives you more information on which user group, for example, is actually taking how much of data or throughput and stuff, right? So the idea here is we don't just give you the optimized rule set. In fact, we actually give you the whole rule set all, so that now the customer can actually go and say that, okay, this looks good, I want to just go and then accept all those. Or sometimes you want to say that I don't want to accept all the rules that you've suggested, I want to just accept only a couple of rules. So even those things are available right here for you to actually what kind of rules that you want to, recommendations that you want to accept, as opposed to what you don't want to accept, right? That's another thing as the as a security posture improvement. So we have it's not just the best practices, we have the rule optimizations also that come into picture. Sorry about that. So that was quickly around the cloud management advantages and stuff. Just to summarize, the cloud management, like some of the things that we talked about was easy onboarding of remote networks, MUs, and then SEs, and then also easy configurations with all the best practices, decryption profiles, which are already established, and then SaaS application management that we have, unified console that we talked about, where we are bringing in DLP, SaaS, along with Prisma Access infrastructure and then security services together, right? So all these are on the configuration perspective, right? So now once you're configured, you want to actually go and then you want to look at how your Prisma Access service is doing, right? So if you jump to the activity, in the activity, it gives you kind of a report saying that, hey, in terms of the application usage, like what are all the risks, what are, based on the risk, what are all the applications, what are all the access applications are, right? It gives you a view into how is the Prisma Access usage, right? It gives a view into the URL category risk, right? And then also like a best practice report, right? The other thing is, the other cool part with this is the executive summary, right? Once you click on the executive summary, this is actually something for the CISOs in an enterprise to take a look and stuff, right? So what are all the, with the subscriptions that you have, what are all the threats that we were able to block? And then what are all the threats that were encountered, depending on the configurations, how many threats were detected and blocked. Sometimes you may have like alerts. It will actually give you that, hey, there are a couple of threats which were actually alerted as compared to like blocked and stuff. And then from the URL filtering point, right? What was the data transfer to what types of URLs like the users were accessing? It gives a wildfire report as well in terms of like what are the threats which were delivered by different applications and stuff. And then also in terms of DLP, right? What were the threats? What were the most apps with block files which were seen? So this is actually particularly useful for any of the for any executive level people to actually take a look and then see how the platform, Prisma Access platform, is actually blocking and then securing their networks. So by bringing in SaaS security as well, we do have dashboards for SaaS security to take a look. And also, like I said, it's not just bringing the configuration together, right? When we brought the DLP and then SaaS security in, we did bring in the visibility of those, right? All the DLP incidents, like for example, when data exfiltration was blocked, in fact, the DLP incidents are recorded here in the activity page for the admins to take a look. And just like the traditional firewalls and stuff, you need to go take a look at traffic logs. So it can be done in the log viewer. The log viewer actually gives the traffic logs for you to actually see what are all the traffic, what are the different sessions which are going through the Prisma Access infrastructure itself. So obviously, you can actually drill down and then select different types of logs that you want to watch, and then also. If you want to actually look at a particular source address, just click on the source address. It automatically populates the filter. And then once you actually click go, it will give only the logs associated with that source IP address. So it's pretty easy to navigate and then kind of drill down into the logs and stuff, right? And then also, if you want to actually download some reports, or if you want to actually generate some reports, there is actually reporting capability as well, which could be used to generate reports and stuff. So this is a very quick overview on the cloud management platform and what are the capabilities of cloud management platform and stuff. Obviously, in the next sessions and stuff, I'm going to actually jump into a lot more details. For example, how to configure remote networks, what are all the options which are available in the remote networks, and then how do you onboard remote networks easily as compared to like other management platforms and stuff. So I'm going to actually just walk into like all the details, just kind of talking about the things that we have simplified on the way when we created these workflows and stuff. So that was pretty much from my side today. Just wanted to kind of give a quick sneak peek, and then just kind of wanted to cover the advantages of cloud management, and then also kind of actually give you a little more than an overview, I would say, into all the advantages of the cloud management platform. Any questions? I don't see any questions here in the Q&A, but you're more than welcome if you have any other questions to ask. Hey, Wendy.
Yes, I don't see any questions either. Actually, I think I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Let me check real quick.
Yeah. So Ashish, we are looking into that internal error issues. Hopefully, we should have an update from engineering today or tomorrow. I think we are also aware of it. The engineering is actually taking a look at it.
Yes, I think that was the only question we have. I'm going to go ahead and stop this real